Hey, it's Brandon Forsyth here. I'm just talking a little bit about how God's been speaking to me through His Word. And yesterday I was reading in Leviticus chapter 16, and I know Leviticus, exciting book of the Bible, is one of those sometimes can be a struggle because you're talking about basically these very detailed laws that God has given the Israelite people about how to worship Him perfectly. And chapter 16 is about the Day of Atonement, where He's offering the people a chance to atone for their sins. And one of the things He instructs the high priest, at this time Aaron, to do is to bring these two goats into the temple. And one goat will be slaughtered for the sins of Israel. And then the other goat, this is an offering to God, that first goat. The other goat, it says, I've been reading this year through the God's Word version of the Bible, and it says they will lay their hands on it, and this goat becomes a representative for the sins of Israel to then be sent out into the desert to Azazel with a capital A. And this is the part that is kind of intriguing. Like, I grew up reading the NIV, and the way that the NIV describes Azazel is the scapegoat. So it names it the goat instead, and that's where we get the term scapegoat, because that goat is taking all the sins, the punishment for somebody else, and going out into the desert. But I wanted to know more about this Azazel, because this goat is being sent to a proper name. And we know from passages like Deuteronomy 6:4, where God says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one." Like, He is the one and only God that exists, is what that implies. That's a tenet of the Christian faith, that God is the only God. Then who is this other goat going to? Who is this Azazel? And so scholars have some debate around this, but it is generally accepted that this is most likely a demonic spirit. And so what's happening here is God is saying, like, hey, I'm taking all these toxic sins of Israel, and this goat is representative, I'm taking them out to the trash heap, out where the demons live, and just dumping this toxic waste on my enemies. Like, that's the picture that we see here. And we know from Jesus in the New Testament that spiritual warfare is real, that there are demonic influences in the world. And so I think this fits very well with the biblical narrative. And so we ask the question, like, hey, so what does this mean for my life? Like, here in 2023, and y'all, I think it paints a beautiful picture of God's love for us. I want you to think about this. If we fast forward to the cross, God, we know in the Old Testament, Leviticus 16, that God has taken the toxic, garbage dump sins of humanity and dumping them on His enemies. At the cross, we see that He loves us so much. He is willing to take the sins of all humanity, all that corrosive, toxic sin from every human sin that has ever been done, and He pours it out on Himself, on His Son on the cross, who becomes that atoning sacrifice because He loves us so much. And it's this incredible picture of what God was willing to do for us, how much He loves us. And I hope, like it does for me, I hope that's something that fills you with joy and gratitude and fuels you to say, God, wow, I want to give You my everything and live for You every moment of every day. So those are my thoughts from Leviticus chapter 16. Feel free to comment, ask questions below, or if there's some way that God's been speaking to you through His Word, I would love to see you share that. Thank you.